Welcome to a very special three-part series with Jake Panasevich, a yoga teacher for men and athletes. He's had experience teaching yoga to the Philadelphia Eagles, the Philadelphia Phillies, and the Philadelphia Union. Jake is also a health journalist and expert for U.S. News and World Report. Jake, welcome.
Dr. Susie, thanks so much for having me. Nice to see you again.
Likewise. And thanks so much for joining me in this very special three-part series of applying yoga for men and combining that with the pelvic floor. What a wonderful
Yeah.
topic to talk about.
Absolutely. I'm excited to get into it. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, before we dive into this series, I'd love to know how yoga for men is different than the mainstream yoga.
Yeah, sure. So, a lot of times guys are reluctant to give yoga a try because it could be intimidating and for good reason. There's a lot of poses that look like we're in a pretzel or what in the world's going on. I will never do that. Right. But then, what's great about yoga for guys specifically is when everyone comes to a class with a very similar life experience, with very similar, uh, not weaknesses, I'm going to say strengths. Like guys tend to be stronger, which i.e. means tighter. And so we could use that strength to work on our flexibility. And so, when everyone in the class comes with a similar life experience, a similar background, then we could really utilize that to take the class to a whole nother level at a much faster and more effective rate. And so, we take the right steps and modifications. We use props to help advance your practice in a way that feels safe, but also, you will be challenged. And so it's a nice way to demystify yoga, where you get the benefit without maybe some of the uncomfortable talk that happens around the yoga studio in a mainstream class as well. So, yeah, that's a little bit of why it's different.
Yeah. And I'm so happy that you mentioned how flexibility and mobility can help with strength and vice versa, because there is some research that is supporting, working on mobility, joint mobility and flexibility might actually help with one's strength. So that's pretty awesome.
Mhm.
And I have another thought slash question about, as you mentioned, yoga can be stigmatized, especially in the more masculine realm. And so your experience with, professional athletes and men, how, what's the best, how have you kind of demystified that? Like, what was the reaction of, some of these football players and these athletes of, you want me to do yoga? I mean, shouldn't we be
Yeah.
doing
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. They're like, this is the yoga guy. Like,
right?
but yeah, it's funny. There is playfulness, and guys could be smart Alex, no question. And you gotta lean into it. I will say, there's been even feasibility studies with veterans that veterans are way more likely to take a yoga class when they see a veteran in front of the room teaching it.
Mm,
I do think it helps, coming from the same place as a guy, and I did think that was one barrier to entry for athletes. But also, I think me myself, I know at my core could be a real smart aleck, and I think you got to allow guys to be a little bit goofy and allow guys to be themselves and not take anything too personally. And
right.
just keep teaching, and going through the physical poses first, like getting them into a position and instructing out of the gate. And so you're like, hey, what are we doing here? We're not kind of talking about our days, like, or, there's not incense and candles around. It's like, stand up, look at your feet, make sure they're straight, stand tall, shoulders back, turn to your breath, and we're in. And then often, the eyes do not glaze over. They are on. It's usually the physical aspect of it that is the door in. And then, then they're willing to maybe feel things more subtly and listen to a more uh, nuanced cue about the breath or the way their muscles engage or how they position themselves. And so I do think that's the key to entering that space in a way that you get them to tune in and listen in.
That's right. Direct, remove the fluff or the jargon. Although there's space and time for that, and we're not saying that that's, right or wrong or good or bad in any way. It's just a preference and a flavor and a style, and everyone has different preferences and styles, and that's cool too. So eliminating
Yes.
mysticism a little bit. Well, I did want to touch base a little bit about mental health and yoga. I mean, certainly there is a connection or correlation between mental health benefits and participating in a mindful practice such as yoga. What is your experience with the mental health and men with yoga?
Yeah, this one is it's sad when you look at the numbers, especially surrounding the male population. There's more men in prison. There's more men in the streets, homeless. There's less men getting educated. Men are 3 times more likely to die a death of despair, suicide, drug or alcohol related deaths. And so it's dire. And I think one thing nice about yoga, especially in a guy's class or with other guys around, and you could get this in a regular class as well, but it is something sweet when there's a group of guys because, I think there's something behind this idea of shoulder to shoulder therapy with guys. They're more willing to talk about how they feel when they're doing something like a golf or fishing or going on a hike even. They tend to open up. If anyone has a son, a boy, you'll sit them down at the dinner table. How was your day? Nothing. You start doing the dishes with them and they won't stop talking. It's like, what in the world? Let's slow down the doing the dishes part to hear how they feel, And I think there's something about when you practice yoga alongside your bro that you're kind of it kind of makes it more comfortable for us guys. It might sound weird, but there is something about that you're doing something that alongside your friend and you're more willing to open up as a guy. I think there is something to that. And there's a real crisis of loneliness with guys. I think we tend to want to be the lone ranger, and there's all kinds of evidence that shows that is really affecting our mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And yoga really brings that community aspect together, that togetherness. And so well, some folks, a lot of guys come to yoga for the physical benefits, like I mentioned. It often progresses and they understand that, oh yeah, now that I'm out of pain, I'm able to get on the floor and play with my grandchildren, or I'm able to open up and have a discussion like I didn't even realize till I did it. But there is this process that happens through a practice of being more mindful and being more out of physical pain, definitely then translates to being more mentally grounded and open for mental health.
So a lot of positive side effects that people might not know about, but certainly embrace. And, to your point of when you're feeling better in your body, you're feeling better in your mind, vice versa. And you're more likely to engage in those meaningful activities that you maybe once enjoyed or want to do again, or perhaps try something new. And this series is really about, some really vulnerable and often taboo topics, right? Sexual organs, pelvic floor, penis, testicles, pooping, peeing, and sex. Those are things that are especially challenging to talk about for men, but also for all people with pelvises. And so I'm happy that we're going to be bridging pelvic floor and yoga and to combine the two worlds together because there's so much benefit. So in this special series, we are going to be doing 3 episodes. The first episode, we will be talking about pelvic floor yoga for urinary incontinence. The second episode is going to be around pelvic floor yoga for erections and premature ejaculation. And then the third is yoga to relax tight and painful pelvic floor muscles. So we will dive right in. Thanks for watching. If you're as passionate about men's pelvic and sexual health as we are, give us a thumbs up. hit subscribe, and spread the word. Let's grow this community together and make pelvic health education accessible to all men and the people who love them.